That'll be after everything.
Thank you, Mark, for introducing. This is the first time I'm doing the general evaluator role, so I'll be calling Georgie for evaluating Harun's speech.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Yes, Toastmasters, and especially Harun. Thank you very much for giving us your icebreaker. Welcome back to the club. It's really wonderful to have you back. I would just like to say that I have seen Harun speak before. It has been a while, but if I remember correctly, I remember one of the things that you were focused on back in the day was to lower the number of ahs and ums in your speech. And I think that I can say without a doubt you have made vast improvement in that area. In fact, I would say it's ineffable improvement that you've actually made. It is quite impressive. I think it would be great for people who are, trying to evaluate if Toastmasters is right for them. We do have old speeches out, with Harun, so you can check out some of our old speeches for Harun and see how much he's improved. So yes, you do make milestones in Toastmasters in which you improve quite a bit. I think you did a great job, especially with your eye contact. There was a couple of times, however, since you are a Toastmaster who's been here before, usually with an icebreaker we give lots and lots of positive feedback and not necessarily too much negative feedback. But Harun and I know each other, and he understands I'm kind of mean, so I'm only doing this to help. But with respect to this icebreaker, the one thing I would suggest that you might want to consider is that you were looking down at a few times. At first, I thought maybe you actually had notes on the floor or something. I wasn't quite sure what you were looking at, but your notes are actually over on the table. I would say that you might want to focus a little bit more on making eye contact and staying level with the room instead of looking down trying to search for that next word. You did a great job with your gestures. Your hands were pointed a few at a time, and you moved them around quite a bit. But they weren't distracting. I thought they went really well with what you were doing. The only slight improvement might be you might want to slow down just slightly, but I think your pace was very good, the volumes. You did a great job going through many different things, so we got to know you quite a bit. You have a new house. You are interested in science fiction. You are worried about how things are going to go with your funeral, which I think is really a sign of advanced planning. So I think we got quite a bit out of your speech, and I'm looking forward to the next speech you're going to give. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Georgie. That was a good evaluation. Next, I'd like to invite Mark for evaluating Muhammad.
Thank you, Raj. Okay, thank you, Mohammed, for that speech on the benefits of relocating. Personally, I haven't relocated from anywhere outside of California, but it was still very interesting to see. Right off the bat, I wanted to say it was a good hook for audience engagement. You were asking the room how many people had relocated, and a lot of people had relocated. It was a good gauge of seeing how many people could really connect with your speech and could really resonate with a lot of the points that you were talking about. Overall, the content, I really liked the content. It was very simple, it was precise, it was clear. Right off the bat, you said, I'm going to talk about 3 benefits of relocating. It was very clear when you made the transitions, and you had a lot of supporting examples. Overall, the content I really liked. And I think it was very easy to follow, it was very easy to understand, even if somebody was barely paying attention. As soon as they jump back in, they know exactly what you're talking about, and you had a nice little conclusion at the end. As well as I really did appreciate a lot of the personal examples and highlighting the differences between the places that you moved. One of the things that I think you could improve on for the next speech, your stage presence is very nice, and you seem very comfortable on stage. One of the things I'd like to challenge you to do is to try doing some more vocal modulation, right? You have a very nice, easy cadence. You're very comfortable on stage, but I want to challenge you to convey passion, convey emotion a little bit more. As well as your stage movement is good, but I want to encourage you to go bigger, go much more exaggerated, and you'll find that when you exaggerate a lot, you'll find the smaller movements a little bit easier. Right now, small. Eventually, you want to be in the middle, but the only way to get to the middle is to feel that the middle isn't exaggerated. So overall, great speech. I really enjoyed it. I think it was very relevant to a lot of the people here, and I'm looking forward to your next speech. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to invite Dan to evaluate Prakash.
Thank you. Can someone take over the timer card?
I can.
Okay. 3 minutes. Tap this one starts. Thank you, Prakash, for excuse me. I'm sorry. Thank you, Prakash, for a wonderful speech. One of the first pieces of advice that you'll often get at a lot of seminars about giving speeches is to try to weave a story into the speech. And I love the way how you sort of turned a speech about stock investing into a story, starting out from how it was in your home country, where you could make a decent return on investment just by putting it in the bank, to 1 cent here in America, and finally moving on to the nitty-gritty about your investing here in the States. Wonderful, sort of wove a little bit of life story into what otherwise is a kind of a dry topic. Also, thank you very much for the animated use of gestures. One thing you'll often find in Toastmaster speeches, especially by some of the newer members, is that they'll just sort of stand there with their arms by their side, which works for communication, but it doesn't really bring things to life. So you were constantly gesturing in one way or the other with your arms, moving around. It adds a level of animation. Even if the gesture doesn't actually mean anything, it's still nice. One area where you could use a little bit of improvement, however, is engaging with the audience. And this comes back to the issue of eye contact. You spent most of the time looking at the middle of this table over here, or at the screen. The screen can't hear what you're saying. The people over here can, and they spent the vast majority of the time looking at your ear or possibly the back of your head. If you wanted to point people to the screen, just point. But the rest of the time, engage your audience. Move around the room. Focus on different people. That way you'll hit everyone. And even when you're not staring at someone, even if I'm looking over here and this person's looking at my ear, he knows he'll eventually be seeing me again. Also, I felt your opening could use a little bit of an improvement. You opened up by saying, today I'm going to talk about, and then started saying why you're not very much an expert at what you're talking about. You sort of sabotaged your speech at the beginning. What you could do is open up with something that will grab people, like, do you think that you can make money by putting it into a bank and letting it accrue interest? In the United States, you only get 1 cent. Now, disclaimer, I'm not an expert. Something like that. Give the hook first, and then if you feel necessary to give a disclaimer, give it then. But don't tell people, oh, I'm so horrible at this going in. Grab them and, basically don't tell people that you're not an expert, or at least very little bit. That all said, I did love the amount of detail that you put into analyzing your stocks. You showed the things you were looking for, the various metrics that you were tracking, the various charts, and that really gave us an insight into what was involved with your investing and how we could possibly make it work for ourselves, which was really almost the heart of the speech. And so thank you very much for doing your research. And if I'm here for your next speech, I look forward to seeing it. Thank you.
Thanks for the nice evaluation. I'll call upon marketing.